What is smart? According to Cambridge Dictionary, it is looking clean and stylish, having a big brain,
Name a yellow fruit.
Orange.
and also a sharp pain. My eyes when I see blade grinders with coffee. And not just humans, machines nowadays are called smart too, including today's grinder, the Sage or Breville Smart Grinder Pro, which is probably the only grinder to call itself smart and pro at the very same time. And I blame it for giving phone manufacturers ideas. And in the recent years, it has gone from smart to smack, as in being smacked on the bum cheeks. All the time on the internet. So after 3 years of daily use myself, today you will learn about why it used to be a thing, what I liked about it, and why it's on the way to someone else's kitchen now. Here's a quick love story. Throwback to end of 2021, I was happily brewing daily mocha pot with bloody supermarket pre-ground like Illy and Taylors of Harrogate. Oh man, I was such a disgrace to the family. And started getting paid for the first time coming out of uni. I was finding something to reward myself. And somehow coffee setup came to my mind. So anyway, I started googling. Yes, I'm one of those who add Reddit at the end for pretty much everything. And back then this grinder, along with Baratza Encore, are the most common recommendations as entry-level grinders. And with a rough idea on how much it's gonna cost, here comes the self-persuasion quick maths.
Boom! 2 plus 2 is 1, minus 3, that's 4. Quick maths.
Everything will cost me about £300. According to Price and Cafe, it will only take about 100 cups, or 50 days of daily latte for me and my partner to pay itself off.
Raw maths.
So this grinder quickly ended up in my kitchen, alongside this. Yes, I was such a criminal. But it went into the bin not too long after and Bambino came in. More on that in another video. And my initial impression was despite the cheap price, it looked and felt premium due to the stainless steel material, with an LCD screen that was relatively fancy for someone with literally zero espresso knowledge. So now, after 3 years, what do I like? First of all, it was widely available to purchase, often on sale, made it easy for beginners to get hands on them, with good support and spare parts available, at least for me in the UK. Secondly, it has a wide range of grind setting. With the adjustable upper burr of 10 settings times 60 with the knob, it effectively had 600 micro adjustments theoretically. It definitely grinds fine enough for espresso, all the way coarse enough for French press. I also like the convenience, with a hopper and especially a portafilter holder when I first started. That was until I got converted to being single dosing and blind shaking supremacists. More on that later. Overall, it provided a foundation that is consistent enough to brew okay espressos, while I gradually understand other variables including puck prep. And that pretty much ends there. So now, why is it becoming a boomer? First of all, the smartness. Initially, it felt versatile as you can fine-tune many things. Over time, some of them felt redundant. First, the grind dial. Despite having 600 micro adjustments, it is still stepped. So at times, you just want to adjust like half a notch, but you just couldn't. And then this button. What it does is only switching between single and double shot grind timing, which I've never used at all. Zero. Nada. And then the grind amount. Not by weight, but only the time the burr spins. It is to be used with hopper, so theoretically you can set the same amount of grounds coming out, but in my experience there are variations between shots, so sometimes I will end up with a bit more or less than my desired dose.
Sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be shit.
So I always had to manually grind a tad more or chuck some out, which was mildly infuriating. One of the main reasons that moved me to single dosing halfway through, by getting on this third-party bellow. Another big issue is the massive retention.
That's quite big.
Especially when dialing in new beans, It was a frustrating process as I ended up chasing the dial.
Why are you running?
The only workaround is to perch a few grams on a new grind size, which ends up quite wasteful. Here's the amount of retention in the grinder to give you a good idea.
Impressive.
When it comes to cleaning, there are quite a few bits to take out, and you definitely need a vacuum. Becomes a bigger issue if you change bins often. Good freaking luck. Lastly, which is the most important aspect, the grind quality and how it tastes. I brew only espressos, and it is what you would expect from a conical, producing a higher body with little complexity and clarity, what you would call a traditional style cup. Even with a rotating monthly subscription with Square Mile, with various single origins and process methods, they all produce similar tasting cup. Certainly failed to highlight the clarity and nuanced flavors until I upgraded to the DF64V, which is a flat burr grinder and an absolute game changer. I've made a video on that too, so feel free to check it out. With seemingly overwhelming cons, it is certainly a big pass, right?
Pass, pass, pass. Smash.
Yes and no. First of all, if you haven't got a grinder and are using pre-ground, or worse, using a freaking blade grinder, this would be a step up to a more consistent foundation for espresso brewing with non-pressurized basket. Secondly, what is your budget? Which comes arguably the biggest problem with this grinder, competition. When released in 2014, it used to be kind of a game changer, bringing the floor down for more beginners to get into coffee brewing. But recent years, it is starting to get outperformed, pretty overwhelmingly. So with that, it is only worth getting as a second hand at around £100 or so. If you can afford the MSRP, I would go for a DF54. There is a reason why it is so highly rated by both Daddy Hoffman and the Birdman. Lastly, if you really love the look, love traditional style cups, go for it. Just saying that I also thought I only liked chocolatey and nutty notes in my milk drinks, until I upgraded to a flat burr grinder. Just saying.
I'm just saying.
To wrap up, get this only if you don't have a proper burr grinder, budget of around £100 and don't mind a second hand, and if you like traditional style cups. Overall, I'm still grateful that at that time, it was the cheapest option as a consistent enough foundation, allowing me to understand other espresso fundamentals and variables, before eventually got infected by upgraditis. So now, it is on its way to my friend's kitchen to continue its legacy. F's in the comments. In recent years, Citra Breville is becoming an easy recommendation, especially with the Bambino lineup, which I am pretty happy with at the moment. The most recent release of Oroco Jet and some accessories are pretty interesting as well, so I can't wait for them to try and challenge the grinder market again. And now, I would love to hear your banters or questions, perhaps about the grinder or anything else you would like me to review next, in the comments down below. Give a like and sub for the next cup and the next crack up.
2 + 2 is
Orange.